Okay, getting my first live up and running. Hello there.
Hey, how are ya?
I'm good. Okay,
Good.
glad I figured that much out.
It's tricky at first. Let me put my thing on. Oh, there we go. A little better. There we go.
Yes. Don't we love these ring lights now?
I know. Before I'm like, oh my gosh. I've got like a filter on. It's fabulous.
Wait, wait.
Good. Yeah, I'm so glad.
Yeah,
Hello.
I don't know. It's been fun to follow you, or I don't. It's almost kind of creepy. It's like I follow you and I feel like I know a little bit about you, but it's kind of nice to like finally see and talk to you face to face.
Yes, no, I think these lives, and I didn't realize like how much I love them because I did one with Tim the other day, and he's a fantasy author.
I
And
think I
we just
saw
had
the end of that one. I think I saw the end of one. Yeah.
oh, and it was so much fun because I'm a stay-at-home mom, I run a daycare, so I never leave my house. So this is my interaction like with outside beings. So
Well,
I'm
okay.
so
Well,
excited.
you deal with a lot of smaller beings if you run a daycare.
So many small beings. Good gracious.
Oh man, let me see if I can play with my lighting.
I know I had to like try to get mine really. It's all the way down at the bottom.
Like
Well,
I
that
don't
was
know what
fun.
color looks best.
I think
I look
do
pink
the
right now. It's fine.
oh I know I have to do like the bluish one because the other one I just look so silly and like washed out, but it's fine.
Okay, so
Awesome. Oh,
let me ask you because I've been wanting. So you define yourself as a dark fantasy author, and so you've written multiple books. I know you've been promoting your latest one a lot. So
yeah. So I have three altogether. Dark Flowers was my first one. Here, I got it. This
yeah,
one, if you've seen that one around with like the creepy doll head on the cover. That one was my first one. That came out in 2016. And that one's about like girls going into like this fairy realm and finding these super creepy creatures. They're completely silver, with like bleached out eyes, and they have like spider web wings.
wow.
So they're definitely not your typical fairy.
I like that. No, I always like the darker fairies because original lore deals with, well, the original fae weren't very nice. Even the
Oh,
nicer ones weren't necessarily nice.
no. And it's so funny how that's kind of gotten lost along the way, like in fantasy, where now people, they do a lot of high fae. So now they've become almost like professional. So,
Yeah.
like, I want those like badass characters. So, me and my sister, when we were little, we would always go into the woods and try to find fairies. So, I took that and I was like, well, what if we did find them, but we didn't like what we found?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. No,
Yeah.
I think that is, I like that approach. Yeah. When I'm starting to incorporate some fae in some of my books right now, and again, I like the concept of even the nice ones aren't Tinkerbell. Like, I feel like there was at least for my generation, I'll call it, I'm going to name it, I don't know if it's a real word, Disneyfication. You know, Disney takes something like The Little Mermaid and all this stuff and takes these concepts of mythological creatures that were not so nice and just make
Yes.
you fall in love with them. And so nowadays, I have a friend who, when she's not working as a mom, she says, I'm a mermaid. That's her life.
Oh, have you seen? I don't know what aquarium it is, but they have mermaid like exhibits, and like these women, they go in, they do the whole
Oh,
thing. They've got like the big mermaid tails. I want to go. That'd be so cool.
swim with the mermaids or be the mermaid. I don't know. It depends. Like, what tank is the mermaid swimming in? Like, I know people swim in some of these shark tanks, and I'm just a little concerned about a giant fin.
I know. Well, it's crazy. I did a cruise with my sister this past summer, and we swam with reef sharks. And these things were huge. They were 9 feet long, and we were just in the ocean with them. And one like came right up and like it's like dorsal fin like touched my stomach. I was like, oh!
It's terrifying.
It was so scary. But the worst part was that they had been conditioned. Once people started getting out of the water, they knew it was time to eat. So my sister and I were like way back here, and we were like one of the last ones to get off. And there were so many sharks circling that ladder. I was so scared.
Yeah, I haven't swam with sharks proper, but I remember years ago swimming, we were boated out to this little sandbar where you could stand, but you were still like waist deep in water, and they had stingrays, hundreds of them.
Yeah.
They were just feeding the stingrays, and you could just put your hand in the water and just feel them swimming all around you. That was a cool
Yes.
experience, but again, it's like these living creatures that don't rub them the wrong way, but they were very friendly.
Because they know you have food. We did a stingray adventure too, and it was we had to sit down in the water and they would come and feed us, and we had to like hold our thumb like this, otherwise their mouth is like a vacuum,
Mm-hmm.
and they would snap our thumb right off, and we all were so terrified. We just like threw the food and we're like, and I actually got to hold one, and then this guy, he didn't tell us what was going on. He's like, just turn around. So we're like, all right. He put the stingray on our head. We were like,
Now
terrifying.
I don't think that happened to me. I don't think I had a stingray hat in my experience.
Yeah, it was
Maybe I
so scary.
blocked that out. But yeah, okay, so fairies.
Yeah. So I do fairies, and I know, just rein me back in.
No.
Then my other one, Wired, that one came out in 2018.
Ooh.
This one is more sci-fi, but it's a contemporary sci-fi. So it's set in 2031, and I was inspired by like all the growing technology and how like addicted and dependent we've become on our phones. So I used to be a waitress at Fridays, and I would just see these families come in and nobody talks. They just sit down and they pull out their phone and nobody talks.
Yeah.
So I took that a step further, and rather than a handheld device, it's implanted in the back of your neck because I wanted it to be really like invasive.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like projected in your mind. So you have like a half screen where you can see reality and then your social media and virtual reality. And it was really cool. It took so much research for that book because I had to figure out, how the synapses work and like the occipital lobe and how it would be projected and tapping into the brain stem. Oh, it was ridiculous.
I think that's why I've stuck with fantasy more than sci-fi, because my background deals with animal psychology and other kind of things. I deal with real animals versus technology. And I have a lot of people who are great at technology. I'm not one, as you've kind of found out. I don't know. But, that would be a huge learning curve to try to broach into the sci-fi realm for me, I think.
Yes, I never thought I would write a sci-fi book. And then I just was so passionate about that subject, especially like when I would see, kids playing at the park and the parents aren't paying any attention. They're just pushing them while they're staring at the phone on the swing. And like, it's so sad because, I mean, especially like with my background being a daycare provider, like I work with kids all day long and they're so smart. And it's just so sad to see people missing out on bonding with their kids and spending time and like learning things together and exploring. So I have a lot of feelings about that one.
Here's a side tangent question, because you're a fellow author. So where do you limit your use of technology to market? Since again, we're doing this on TikTok, and the more, I'm definitely a person that I like the philosophy. I wish I could follow the philosophy of less is more when it comes to social media and marketing purposes, especially if you're an indie author. But you kind of get sucked in. You're trying to do your best on each different platform, and online if you're doing your own ads, et cetera, so on, and all of a sudden you realize, I've realized that more and more over the weekend, I'll like pause and be like, I know I'm doing something, but let me just check the messages. So I respond to people because I want to make sure I'm very responsive. And then all of a sudden I'm like, am I losing on life? Am I missing the moment?
And it's that you totally nailed it, because that is the hardest struggle, because you want to be present and in the moment, but because we're indie, like, you have to promote yourself. You're the only one who's going to promote yourself.
Yeah.
So you have to constantly be there and like, hopping on the trends and doing the cool stuff. And if you don't do it like that day or within that like little time frame, then you've lost out on the trend. Something else is happening. So it is really tricky. I try not to do anything on the weekends. I'll do drafts, and I'll just like put those out, and then I put it away. And sometimes it's great. I'll come back like, and I'll see I have a bunch of comments, not a bunch, but like a couple new followers. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then during the week, I give myself an hour. So I set my kids up with like a movie. They have lots of snacks. And then from like 6 to 7, I make drafts throughout for the whole week, so that way I can just send them out when I'm ready. Because during the day and like with the daycare, I'm not on my phone in front of the kids, so I'll like sneak away for, I don't know, 5 minutes just to check it every couple hours and then try to respond. But it's tricky. It's definitely hard, and especially because my kids, like, we don't have tablets, we don't do any of that, but all their friends do. So they keep asking me, they're like, well, how come I can't have one? I'm like, well, you don't need one. Like, if you want to like play a computer game, I have like a laptop, and we have like the old school computer games, and like you can do that. We have like the Nintendo Switch, so we'll all play together. But like, they're 6 and 4. You don't need a tablet. Like, don't need one.
I don't know if I need a tablet. Well, actually, I probably need a tablet, but do I want one? Probably not.
It's another thing that I have to like worry about keeping charged and not dropping. And
I do. I am the phone dropper person. I am a phone dropper.
I don't know what's been wrong with me, but lately, like, my gestures, they've been so big, and like I knock over everything. I don't understand.
I definitely talk with my hands, and so when I'm filming, again, I try to be on all platforms. Again, don't recommend it, but when I'm shooting like little YouTube videos, I'm like seeing myself as I'm like, oh wait, hi there.
Let me put the hands down, sit on them. So you try to do all the platforms. So is that YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
Pinterest?
Do you do any on Pinterest too?
I do Pinterest. I think those are all the main ones. Yeah, the Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and I try to vary what I put on each of them, which is like the insanity part, because I feel like Twitter's more news forward, and it's one of those fast ones, kind of like TikTok, where it encourages you to post a lot. But thankfully, I'm getting in a better habit of searching and sharing versus new content. I think that's the trick on that one, because people like news, and so since I write a lot about mythology, I'll look up the hashtag mythology and see if there's some cool fact and share it on mine and add a little, hey, what do you think about this? Or maybe I'll go indie book, and if someone else has an indie book they've released, I'll share that. And I think that's helping a little bit, but Twitter I'm weak on. I've actually found out that, hello Book Talk, this is actually probably the quickest growing platform that I've ever experienced on anyone, because Twitter, I have to really work. Instagram, I have to really work. I'm not good with the pretty pictures. No, that's what they like predominantly. And, I know there is a very active community on it. I just cannot figure it out myself, because I just am like, have you seen my work? Okay.
I can only take a picture of my book like against the grass and the flowers so many times. Like, no one cares. And I totally agree. One time I emptied out my junk drawer, and I put that over my book, and I was like, here you go, because it was like the non-pretty version. But like, it was funny, but I can't. And then some people, because I feel for Instagram, you need to be able to do a lot of like editing behind the scenes for your
Yeah.
posts. And I don't know how to do that. Like they always have like these beautiful quotes on these like gorgeous,
Vignettes
I
or
don't know,
something. Yeah.
backdrop.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know how to do that. So I'm just
Yeah.
like
It's
my
tough.
editor. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
sorry.
what?
Oh, I was saying it's tough.
Sorry.
Sorry. You can go ahead.
Yeah. My publisher thinks that Instagram is the absolute best. And they're actually like mad at me for being on TikTok, which I think is so ridiculous because, as you said, it is the fastest growing. And especially because of the pandemic and everyone being home and like the huge book talk community and it's just, I don't understand why they're so against it. I don't know if they just haven't tried it before, but I joined Book Talk. I joined TikTok, I think like late March last year. So this is coming up about a year. And I think it was like June, July, I had doubled my reviews. And
Wow.
it was awesome because I struggle so hard to get reviews.
Reviews are always hard to get. It is kind of like pulling
Oh,
teeth, and it's
oh,
it's an hassle.
it's so hard. And then I'll see people. Do you know MJ Kuhn? I think that's how you say her name. She did Among Thieves.
Okay,
That
yeah,
just came out.
I know her by ear, but yeah.
Yes, she's awesome. And her book I just saw on Twitter because I follow her there. She just celebrated 1,000 reviews. A
Wow.
thousand. I was like,
Goals.
girl.
Hashtag goals. Can this be one of our hashtags for the day? Hashtag goals.
Right. My jaw dropped. Like total with all three of my books, I think I might have like, I don't know, 80. Like
It takes, like I said, it's a lot of work. And ever since the pandemic, I've been working really hard to educate myself on the advertising and marketing part of being an indie author.
yeah.
And of course, through all that, I avoided TikTok for a long time because I was slowly, investing my time and money and resources and energy,
Right.
running ads and doing this and that. And so I only joined TikTok December,
Okay.
November. So still very new to this and, was
Yeah.
teaching myself how to do this, but to just, mention about like how TikTok and book talk especially is becoming such a force in the publishing community. I took a course, Mark Dawson's Ads for Authors. It's really intensive in like Facebook and Amazon and everything. And he has different courses on different kind of social media marketing. And recently he released an add-on. So if you're a part of his program in any way, he gave a free add-on just for TikTok because he actually put out an apology email saying, I'm so sorry for everybody that I have steered you wrong. Started looking at the numbers and talking to the authors who use this platform. He was like, I was astounded. And, I'm investing time in getting some of these book talkers to come up with a course and help you guys with that, which, is that whole thing of, I think it just takes a while for a new platform to get, I don't know, the backing, I'm missing the word. I'm a writer and I can't come up with the right word. It'll come to me like in the middle of the night, but
that's it.
Yes.
But yeah, I totally understand what you mean because, and just like my publisher, they're like, no, TikTok sucks. Like, don't do it. And I'm like, okay, you're not listening to the facts here. Like, there's just so much. Like, it took me forever to figure out Twitter. And now I'm good. I have about like 10,000 followers on Twitter. And
wow.
I do a lot of writing. Yeah, I do a lot of writing prompts on there. I love that because it's just like a fun way, switch on your brain, and they just give you like a couple different words, and then you create your story. And it's fun. It's just something light, easy, and then you can read everybody else's. I wish I had more time to like repost and do everything more so than Twitter. Oh yeah, respond to a comment. I think TikTok is super popular. I'm trying to tell my publisher that they're idiots because they don't think I should be on TikTok. They think that Instagram is the way to go, and they're just idiots. I'm sorry. They just don't know what they're talking about. But I love it. But sorry, I'm getting off track. Can you show me your book again? Tell me what that's all about.
Wait. Let me get through yours first. You have one more. Your latest
okay.
one. Let me actually.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. I'm playing with my light again. There we go. There's the blue.
That's fine. All right. So my last one. This is my newest one. It's Among the Hunted. So this one is Greek mythology, and that's right, Sandra. Instagram is a dinosaur. I cannot figure it out. Even then, it's best spread across. Yes, I do spread, as we were just talking about, and especially Katharine is on so many different platforms. So you definitely guys have to go follow her there because she's amazing. I do like TikTok and Twitter. Those are like my good ones.
Hey, again, less is more. That's the way it should be. I just have the FOMO. I feel like if I'm not on a platform, I'm missing an opportunity to reach people who only use that platform. I actually was running an event on Facebook earlier as part of another group's event, and that's one of the questions they asked is, how do you follow authors you would like? What platforms do you, and you know, everybody had their one or two that they liked, and I just have that FOMO where I'm like, but I could be reaching someone else, and if I'm not there, how could they?
Yes.
Do not advise that method, but that's my mindset.
And that's how you just go crazy because it's the what if. And but I'm sticking to these two, and then hopefully someone will find it and it'll blow up. That's my goal.
Yeah. Okay, but yes,
sorry. So Among the Hunted. So it's also Greek mythology. Do you do Greek mythology?
I do all mythology.
All mythology. Perfect. So with Among the Hunted, this is definitely my darkest one. I
love it.
I kind of explored my own demons here, but it's I gave a voice rather than like the gods point of view. I did it from the nymphs perspective because in like every myth, like all the nymphs they're just the bimbos who hang out and lounge by the pool and you know service the gods. And I was
not use any of those hot
words. we need more than that, and there's so much more behind them, and they're so cool because they can transform into like different elements and the nature. So I took that and I made them more like warriors, and Zeus is hunting them because I did this thing where when you like couple with a nymph, it creates this like grand euphoria, kind of like a high. Okay. So, but it's been a forbidden practice because obviously the nymphs were like, F you. So they're not supposed to do it anymore, but a few of them do. And it affects these three sisters in a very grand way. So they're like, you know what? Forget this. We're going to kill an immortal god. So that is their quest.
Well, I'll have to let you know that one because that was the one I've seen you post most often. Yeah. I do have that on one of my wish lists. So
yay!
I have it on my to read. So it is going to be read.
Cool. Yeah. I'm so excited. Thank you. So now tell me more about yours. What is your favorite type of mythology?
Oh my. Okay. So I bounce around a lot because I've been kind of like you. I published, I think my first one was also in 2016 and was kind of here and there, kind of releasing a few, I think it was almost one a year. And then I've been trying to be a full-time artist and author since my other occupation is painting. So kind of balancing out. And over the years, especially since the pandemic, I've switched predominantly now to writing and just have been mass producing new series. So I have 3 series.
Great.
So, and they span different mythologies. So my debut one, let me go through. Balanced books. So my first one, my debut novel, Visara's Claws. Sorry, shaded blue. I have the blue light, which makes it extra blue.
I know. Gotta angle it perfectly.
But so that one was fun because it has a little bit of Norse mythology underlaying in there, and it's really about shapeshifters, a kingdom where both the shapeshifters and the human race begrudgingly live side by side, and they have to try to put aside their differences to fend off a third party that's coming in to conquer the kingdom. And my main character is a tiger shifter, and she gets drafted, and you follow her tale because I really like warrior style women in a lot of my books. So that's a complete series of 4 books. And then that one was fun because predominantly off Greco-Roman mythology, I created a 12-god pantheon. So inspired by this and that and this and that. So that one is almost its own mythos, but has loose inspirations from other mythologies. And then since then, I have 2 that I'm publishing. My original one, The Sara's Claws and the Incarn Saga, I would qualify dark fantasy. It is grittier and everything. I did split my time because I'm insane right now and publishing 2 series simultaneously. God bless.
Oh my gosh! Wow!
No, not wow. It's more like a lot of tears and my poor beta readers and editor and everybody that I am driving crazy because I keep this insane.
This one.
Yes, exactly. I'm juggling which books I'm writing and which books go to which person. I just sent one book over to my editor, and my beta readers have another one, and I'm working on. It's a mess.
How do you keep that all straight?
If I showed you my desk, I have a wall in front of it full of sticky notes and diagrams and different planners.
Like the red string.
Yeah, it looks like I'm trying to find a serial killer. It is not okay. But
that's awesome.
Especially since I like unusual weaponry, so I have like different weapons tacked on there from like printed images. So it looked really, really odd.
Wow. Well, what I wanted to ask, because you said a tiger shifter, so does she go like full tiger, or is she like kind of more like chimera, where it's like?
So in that the mythology that I developed around them, and that race is called the Therimorphs, which is actually from a Greco-Roman word, which means essentially shapeshifter, body shifter. Okay. And so Therimorphs in my book, they're born with the ability to transform into one animal. The animal kind of meshes with both a combination of their physical look as well as their personality traits, and they do turn fully into that animal. So she, being a very athletic, a little quick to anger, a little hot-tempered character at times, and platinum blonde hair, really dark eyebrows, kind of olive-hued skin, she turns into a white tigress. But I have like other characters, for instance. One of the ones you meet is a very talkative young boy. He has the big round, kind of still round cheeks of being youthful, buck teeth, talks a lot, and he turns into a red squirrel. So, they kind of mesh each other's personality traits.
That's awesome. Because how you were saying that you do a lot with like live animals. So I was wondering how that affected your writing, and what a cool concept. That's like, do you remember those books? What were those? They had the coolest cover.
Oh yeah, the funny thing is I know what you're talking about. I didn't read them. They're like the Animorphs or something like and that.
I never read them either, because they were like, they came out when like Goosebumps were really popular, so I always went toward more Goosebumps. But I thought they were so cool.
R.L. Stein were my jam. But yeah, I never read the Animorphs, which is really funny because I feel like looking back, that might have been fun to have gotten into, but
right. I haven't even seen those lately.
Yeah.
Now I gotta go look them up.
Those flashbacks is like, what do you remember reading in your childhood? Well, okay. One of my obscure ones was the Pendragon series. I really liked it, but no one really knows about it. So.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's another one which I recently learned the term portal fantasy, which I absolutely have fallen in love with, and the Pendragon technically is a portal fantasy. Actually, it's probably more on the sci-fi side, but I just have fallen in love with that term, and I'm using it maybe too much.
So is that like if you have like a portal in your book?
Yeah, I think it's defined by some kind of dimensional travel. So Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe in the Narnia series, that would be qualified as a portal fantasy. You go through a portal, the wardrobe, into another realm. And so it's like Alice in Wonderland, a portal fantasy, going through the rabbit hole. And I was just like, I like that.
That's cool. I've never heard that. I love that. I I actually have in Among the Hunted, they get around through portals. And I feel like, especially writing fantasy, there's just so much to consider. I saw another TikToker had put on today where like she has to consider like currency and then what they have to eat and then how they get around because you know, fantasy, you usually don't have cars, so you have to come up with all these different things. And I know for mine, I did a portal where they have like this whole platform in their realm. And then depending on what portal they go to, it will put them in like, you know, the human realm or like one of the 6 other ones. So I did that with the portal, but it's so interesting to see how everybody else gets around. So what do you do? Do you have like them ride on like horseback? Is it like that kind of mode?
In my original series, it was very kind of Lord of the Rings. Yes, you can ride on horses. I mean, again, with their animal forms, the shapeshifters can utilize those as well, but there is a lot of horseback on that one. Now, to kind of go into the portal fantasy side and the lighter one, I do have a series that's not dark fantasy. It's a young adult adventure fantasy, portal fantasy. Now, I love this term. And it's the first one's the 12 Tasks, and the Jed Chronicles. I have the first 2 out, and that one, again, because I'm insane right now, decided to do a multiverse. So I have 12 worlds. Each one has multiple dimensions. And so I have wormhole travel between the worlds and portal travel between dimensions. And so trying to get, I had like, again, my diagrams of to get from this physical world to this one's alternate dimension, how many jumps do you have to do? What is the speed of travel?
Yes. And no one, like when you're making it, like someone had just commented and they said trying to figure out the small stuff in fantasy books is so hard. And it is because you have to connect all those dots and a lot goes into that. I know for I did one, it was in like the original of Among the Hunted. Like she's like at a cafe and she's like, oh, I have to pay now. And she just like, woo, like waves her hand and money appears. And my editor's like, what is this? She's like, she's a wind nymph. Why the hell would she have the power to create money? I was like, because it's easy.
I know. I have to like think about it, especially with that my young adult series with all the travel and value of. And the question I do bring up a lot is, should different worlds, different societies cross over and blend? Like, if you have a material in one world, should you bring it to another? And what is the downfall of bringing different technology and et cetera, so on. So when it comes to like money, and I'm like, what is there a value that you can exchange to get what you want? And so thankfully I've been able to say, well, certain materials are found more or less everywhere. So like the basic gold and the silver. And so that kind of keeps it easy because even if they don't understand the coin, they understand what gold is.
True. That's awesome. I do like, because of, I did Greek mythology, I used the drachma as a form of currency because that's, you know, already established. And I was like, okay, perfect. I'll just take that. But then like little stuff too, like, you know, what do they eat? What do they drink? And I was like, ambrosia?
Hey, yes. Drink of the gods.
That's what I And then I was like, oh, you know, they had wine. And my editor's like, well, what type of wine? Would they drink normal wine? It's like, I don't know. Get the wine god and he can just have it flowing.
Exactly.
Having to explain myself is like one of the hardest parts of being an author. Like, and it's so hard because, the book series Rotten Ruin does really well with these things, but it's more dystopian. Oh, have you read Rotten Ruin? I haven't heard of that one.
I feel like I've heard of it. I'm trying to like visualize the cover, but no, I have not read it.
No, that's awesome. I'll have to check that out because I need help with that area. And another big one was just trying to get them like dressed. So again, I just had her just be like, bibbidi bobbidi boo, and she's in this beautiful dress. And again, my editor's like, no. So
I have to catch myself a couple times, especially in the world jumping series, because I have my mindset of what she typically wears. But if for whatever reason I have her change clothes into maybe more native garb, I have to remember what she's wearing if she moves somewhere else, so that I'm not starting to describe something that she's not actually wearing. And
Right. It's like she had on leather pants a second ago. It's just
Yep.
Another comment. Jonathan Mayberry, they use ration cards as money. That's really cool. I'm not really sure what a ration card would be, but
well, I guess
that
that would be
sounds
probably
cool.
if you're dystopian, you're limited to amount of food source, so essentially a ration.
Oh, okay. Like you have this many for bread. So, okay, that's
I'll
really
admit, I
cool.
haven't
I
read
like
a lot of dystopian, but I've watched a lot of dystopian movies.
that. The biggest one for me was like Hunger Games. Like that's like the main dystopian one that I'm thinking of. I know I've read more, but again, I can't think of it.
I think it was the Hunger Games, and for me, the other big one that I read around the same time was the Maze Runner trilogy.
Oh,
That was
see,
also.
I didn't really like that one. I
Loved the
struggled
first one.
really.
I loved the first book, and then it
Yeah.
did have a huge changeover, and it kind of lost me. But I am a
Yeah.
high fantasy person. I do like what I like. Everybody
Right,
has their
right.
taste. Everybody has their taste.
Exactly. I really like Divergent. I read that around the same time. But then I hated the third one, like what they did to it. Like I didn't like how like biological it went and like scientific. I didn't like that it was these little experimental pods. I didn't really like that. So it's funny how that happens. And there's another question I wanted to ask you.
Well, while you're thinking about that, I'll briefly tell you my third one, which goes back to my third
Oh,
series, is the dark fantasy series that I think you might enjoy. Since you were just writing a Grecian-based dark fantasy, I have been releasing a novella series for Viking fantasy. So this one's very heavily Nordic, and Nordic
Ooh.
mythos is inherently dark. And so
Yeah.
that one's really fun because though we get to travel throughout all the 9 realms in and around Yggdrasil, the World Tree, I'm taking you through the most obscure of Nordic mythos before you get to the big ones. So instead of everybody seeing Loki and Thor, you right off the bat, you might see them in like the last book or two. But up until then, you're dealing with other things that people aren't familiar with, like Fugia, which are everybody's animal-shaped guardian spirit. They're all female, and people can't see them unless you're either a seeress or my main character was born with the ability to see them, so she can communicate and understand each of these Fugia. And in Nordic mythology, they're shaped kind of like my shapeshifters in the previous series, kind of reflects a core personality trait of their person. And so my main character in this one is the first time I wrote a non-warrior forward female main. I have not Valkyrie, Shield Maiden, older sister, so I still get to live vicariously through that, but my main character's shy, meek, and been ostracized because she was born with that ability to see and talk with these invisible things, so everybody thinks she's talking to herself. And so a little unfortunate, and but her Fugia is a squirrel called Trey.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. So
that's
that one
really cool.
is making me think a little bit of yours when I've heard you describe how much you write based off Grecian. You say Grecian or Roman? Grecian lore.
More Grecian, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I definitely want to start with that series then. That sounds so cool. I love Vikings, and I like you said, I love how gritty it is, and going not just Loki and Thor, because everybody knows them. They've been done. Like,
yes.
Give us the rest. Like, I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I did really like another thing with fantasy, kind of close to how you have like your shapeshifters for your series. I created this character for Among the Hunted. It's like the gods, like not really pet, but just like their animal to hunt down the nymphs.
Okay.
So I made it like this kind of like saber-toothed tiger look,
Oh,
and combined it with a like a porcupine. So it has like these
okay.
massive like quills that come
Oh
out
my
of
God,
its
yeah.
back. And then it can, when it's hunting, it can, shoot them. And it's like laced with like a neurotoxin, and it prevents the nymphs from shifting into their elemental form.
That
And
and
yeah,
terrifying.
yeah, they're terrifying. And I love when animals are like such a key component of the story, and they take on their own personality, and it's just so cool. And I wish there were more books that did that. I liked the concept of it. Did you ever read Three Dark Crowns by
No, but that one's also on my wish list. I have a very large growing wish list. The topic is not helping on that either, but yes.
No. Well, that one I loved the idea. So I won't spoil it too much. But the three sisters, they when they come of age, they have to kill one another until there's only one queen. And
Oh, okay, okay.
each of them is blessed. One can either be like, she can like ingest poison, another one can wield fire, and then the other one has the ability to communicate and, control animals. And it started off so good with so much potential, but it didn't get dark enough. And I think that's just me. My sister loved them, but I want I want the dark. I want people to die.
Okay, well, that yes, all my series do tap into that, but I am also a little more on the slow build for the dark, because I always preface by saying it's going to be dark, but I want to get you as attached as possible before I pull the rug underneath you. And again, writing in series, it's like I can lure you through, get you really invested, and then I'm so sorry.
And done.
Very true.
Yes. I love that. I've read so many books where, yes, no happy endings at all for those characters. You're right. And I just love that because nobody is safe. And I think that just adds so much more experience to when you're reading, because you don't know what's going to happen. And I definitely have in my books where someone will die. That is a given. And then how do you feel? Do yours end, like, without giving too much away, do you favor more of like cliffhangers? I know it kind of has to be because it's a series, but do you kind of wrap everything up with a happy ending, or how do you balance that?
If it's in between, yes, I am definitely a big cliffhanger person. But it also depends on the book and the series. Like my young adult ones being, not the dark area, yes, you wrap it up in a way where it potentially can happy, but tease you in the next one.
Right.
Other ones, it just depends. I'm a person who kind of lets the story tell itself, and so sometimes people don't make it earlier on, and sometimes it's closer towards the end of a book. And either way, hopefully, when the end gets there, love it. You love it or hate it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I write. I don't know how you write. I write definitely books that I enjoy, which again I like. I do like cliffhangers. I do like the concept that the good don't always survive. The bad may not die the way you want. That just, I have my boyfriend. He's all about, if there's a real bad villain, he wants to see him get his comeuppance, and sometimes that doesn't happen. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes
But
the villain just makes it out of there. And
yeah, that's true
I'm
too.
yeah, I love I'm definitely on the villainy side. I love my villains, and I just think they're so much more interesting than the main character.
Yeah.
And because you have to know like what made them this way, what's driving them. And I just love getting inside their heads. I think it's so cool. We have another comment: writing books you enjoy is the best way to go. Yes, because if you enjoy writing them, then that joy is just reflected in your stories, and people can sense your passion for it, and it's just so exciting. And oh, that's what I really like.
I will have to say, I will counter with this. The problem with the writing what you like and not having which it's hard for me to have a set audience in mind. It's how do you then find the people who like your stuff? And
that's
especially before TikTok, it was like, it was hard because all my stuff doesn't necessarily fit in the little boxes that publishers want.
Right.
I've been a person who has submitted queries before, and the one thing I got back on the 12 Tacks, my young adult series, it was too large. They're like, your book is a third larger than what we look for a young adult. And I'm like, I write long stories, and you just have to.
And that's hard
to find people, I guess.
And fantasy, especially, my publisher has been telling me, because for the longest time it was like 100 to 120,000 words. Like, they wanted them big. And then now my publisher's like, don't go over 100,000 words. Now they want like short reads. And I'm like, why? Why does this keep changing?
I think it's because, again, going back to your middle book, the everybody's on technology and likes the TikToks, and like we had the Vines that were popular for a while. Very short things. If you don't keep someone's attention, you scroll. And so I think that's the way, unfortunately, where some books are, or some readers are, they like the quicker reads. I unfortunately write very, very large reads. And so I think that was a challenge for me, a fun challenge to write these novellas, so I can prove to myself I can encapsulate a story in 10 small chapters.
Yes. that's a very
44 170 pagers. I mean, 170, not pagers, 170 thousand words.
Yeah, that's a big book.
They don't actually look big on the shelf, because I also read meaty books. Like, I definitely have a collection of 1,000-page and above books on my shelf, but I like big books, and I cannot lie.
Woo! See, and I'm the opposite. Like, I'll get a big book and I'm just like, oh man. I don't like, because Dark Flowers is my thinnest one. So this one is just under 200 pages. Okay. And when I first started writing it and submitted it, it was like 45,000 words. So it was a novella. And my editor was, she did some developmental edits, and she's like, well, what if we do this? Like, why is it like this? And like, just asking those questions was really great, because I could dive back in and expand upon the characters a little bit more. And I ended up doubling the manuscript. So that was really nice. It's still small, but it is better.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And I was just going to say something about Dark Flowers. It was, have you done any book signings yet?
I have done a few periodically. They were all before COVID, so I haven't done any lately. And again, for me, it's how much marketing, or especially if you're doing it independent, to put in and what gets out. Actually, I did one over the holidays. And I jointly did it with another author to try to help, build foot traction, which is kind of a fun way to do it. I mean, I've done a few, but I've never done it at like a convention or a book festival or anything big like that, which I don't know if that's beneficial or not.
So I've actually done a ton, and I love them. I think I sell so much better in person than online. Like, my online sales suck. They're so bad. But in person, because I'm very bubbly, and I'm not afraid to be told no. So I talk to everybody.
When I first heard you actually speak versus, listening
like lip syncing.
Yeah. But I was like, wow, because I already had realized you were a dark fantasy, and I was like, I didn't expect you to sound just so perky and cheerful. And you're like, I write dark fantasy. And I was like,
I know, and that's what everybody says. I am like Minnie Mouse, and when they read my stuff, like my coworkers read it a couple years ago, and they just came in like these looks of horror. They're like, "Who are you?" Because my writing does not mesh with my face.
so
So that was really funny, and I love. But I've done lots of different events. I've done a couple Barnes and Noble book signings. Those ones are a little trickier because one, you have to get your book into Barnes and Noble.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Two, you don't get any of the profit. Like Barnes and Noble takes like all of it. So I did well there. I sold like over 20 books one time, but again, I barely saw any of a profit. And but I did meet a lot of great local readers. They haven't done it recently because of the pandemic, but my biggest ones that I go to are like craft fairs, like just around like my local town. And it's so great because usually I'm the only author there, which is a huge plus because there's less competition. Um, and it's something different because when you go to craft fairs, there's the wreaths and there's the tote bags and the signs. So seeing an author there, will more likely or not come over to the table. So craft fairs are really, really big, and I do like 4 or 5 of them a year, especially around the holidays. It was back in November. It was a combined total of 12 hours, so 6 hours a day. I sold like, I think it was 56 books.
Wow.
I sold. It was definitely my best one ever. I was shocked, and it was so cool. So I love the craft fairs. I just got invited to do up in Ithaca. I'm like 45 minutes south of there. They're having this big Ithacon. So it's like comic books and authors, and I love those because like those are my people, and it's so nice. They're there for you to support you, and the table is free, which is
okay,
huge.
that's nice. Because that's the problem here is like I'm outside of Atlanta, and so we got Dragon Con, which is huge and expensive. Ooh. And then I found out recently, one of the largest book fairs is out of Atlanta. It's like the Duluth or Decatur book fair, and it's one of the big ones in the country. And actually one of the other authors here on TikTok was like, "Oh, you're in Georgia, are you going to do it?" And I was like, maybe, I don't know. It's
hard. They charge so much for a table. Sometimes it's almost $300 for a table.
And I'm like, do I have enough books to sell to get my money back?
Yeah. So before you can even break even, you have to sell a ton of books, and it puts so much pressure on you. And that's why, because I'm from a very small town, small area, and we are really lucky that they've been doing a lot of local author spotlights, and they put all these events together. And there was this one really cool one. I met my friend, he's on Twitter, and he lives in Toronto, and he invited me up. This was again before COVID, but he invited me up to Toronto to do the big book festival in Toronto. And it was awesome. It like we split a table, so that cut down costs significantly. But it was so cool. And I sold like 16 copies. So I mean, that's still good. It's definitely not one of the best shows that I've done, but just getting out there.
And it also helps. I was going to say, the more books you have, the better that's going to be, because I think the rule of thumb, and I've heard it from multiple people, it's easier to sell 10 books to one person than one book to 10 people. So if you have like 4, 5, 6, 12, that can vary and depend on how well you do at those events, depending on how many books you have.
That's such a good point. And because now that I have 3, plus I'm in 2 anthologies, so I have those on my table. Yeah, it's really cool. It's like a UK anthology. Again, I found her on Twitter. And it was just like little 100-word microfiction. And
Aw.
there's it's international authors all over, and we just submitted our stories, and it was just really cool. So that's a fun little one. It's only like $10 that I have on the table. So if someone doesn't have like or want to commit more than that, then they can still get a book. So that's cool. Darn it! What was I just gonna say? I just had it.
One thing I found, and I'm kind of steering to a slightly different topic, but talking about selling actual physical copies. Now, I started recently because I'm also an artist. I have an Etsy shop, but I started recently adding my print books, and now that I've expanded to hardback, I may also expand into hardback on Etsy, and people will buy because I can say, hey, I can personalize it for you, I can sign it for you, and I've especially around the holiday, I started getting sets because a complete series buys, like let me bundle all 4 together, and I was like, okay. Just another way to reach people, because I know a lot of people like the concept of a signed copy, and especially a personalized copy.
Yes.
If you have a way to be like, hey, if you want that, reach, here you go. Here's the link. Here's what you need to do.
And I think that is so cool. What I started, my husband actually got me for Christmas one of those wax seal kits.
Yes, I love those.
Oh, I've wanted one forever. So every time I get like an order for like a signed paperback, I always, I'll sign it to them, and then I do a personalized letter, like thoroughly thanking them, and then I seal it with my little wax seal, and it's just everybody has reached out to me. They're like, this is such a nice touch, and it's really, really nice because it just elevates it, and it shows that you're really thankful and grateful for the sale. So just like your stuff, and especially like being able to combine your artwork with your painting. Yeah, like that's just so cool. And it's funny that you were saying what I was thinking back. I was out in South Dakota for it was Children's Literary Classic Book Awards, and both Dark Flowers and Wired have won awards from that academy. And they had this big book festival out there, and I was next to this author, and she had must have been, like you were saying, like 12 books. And I saw someone just go up to her table and was like, okay, yeah, I'll take that one and that one and that one. And I'm just like, oh. This girl sold totally out of all of her books, and I'm sitting there with like one book, and I'm just like, can you come over here?
Yep, no, my first couple book signings, because I only had like 1 or 2, it was nice to make sales, but I only had 1 or 2 books, so you could only buy the 1 or 2. My Norse mythology series right now is only ebooks because they're only novellas. I didn't feel like I wanted to print out, tiny ones. I'm working right now to, I have a formatter helping me compile the first 4 into a book, and I'll release it as an omnibus version so I can have a physical book on the table. And then, like, if you want more of it, you can either get the ebooks right now or wait till the next bundle comes out, but it'll be, another year or so, and then I can actually have copies of that. But that's the idea, was, again, because if you have more things on the table, the physical book sales methods make more sense.
Right. And because of that, when I only had like one or 2 books, I actually had t-shirts made. And I did t-shirts and I did tank tops. And for the t-shirts, I kind of put it with Dark Flowers, and I had like this like cool like silver rose on it. And so that was cool. And I would sell them. So that was really fun. And then the tank tops I did. I'm so glad you like it. Thanks. The tank tops I said got books, and those would sell really well. It was a little unfortunate because the cost of them was so much. So I had to sell them. I think I was selling for like $15, but that was just breaking even. Yeah. And then I had them for a while. So I was just like, $10, $5. So, yeah. And then I would do.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I've always wondered how that kind of would work, because what kind of things can you add on for either extra sales or just to, help secure a sale? For instance, like I give away bookmarks and stickers and stuff like that when I make sales, but I haven't figured out what I can add on to, because I've seen authors have shops with things like anything from t-shirts or bags or posters, and I'm like, how
Right.
does that really work? I don't know.
Yeah, if it wasn't so expensive to keep printing the shirts, I would do more shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's not really working out.
Yeah.
I looked to like pens and canvas bags because I thought that would be really cool. But again, I can't find something like a company that will do it for like the small amount that I need. I found one in like my local town, but I had to order like 20, like almost 3,000 and I was like, okay, no, that's too many.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to do that.
Vistaprint, I think, has moved into clothing, and I think you can order
Oh,
it like individually, but obviously the larger the bundle, the more affordable they are. And I have never really
right.
looked to see what they charge for things like shirts, but I do know they do the bags and they do a
Mhm.
lot of things. They could even have a calendar with your book covers. I mean, there are a lot of things you could do,
Ooh.
and I just, again, never, I'm a little hesitant of putting so much money in something and then having it
Right.
sit around and take space. And right now I'm living in a smaller apartment than I'm used to. So I'm like, storage unit? How much can I fit in you? Every time I put out another book, I'm like, how many author copies do I want to keep on hand? Where am I going
Yeah.
to store them?
It's so hard. I have them like shoved in my attic, like in their boxes, and my husband is just, you have to get rid of these. I'm like, I'm trying. But what I did do for Wired, I actually went to FYE and they had, this was a couple of years ago now, but they had those like VR headsets
Ooh.
and they had them on sale on clearance for like, I don't know, $3 a pop. So I bought like a ton of those. And then I put that on my table right next to Wired. And I give those away. If you buy the book, then they're only like $5 additional on top of that. And it's cool because it connects with the book because, the main character is going into like the new virtual reality and people are, those things are cool and everyone can access them because you just slide your phone in. So I found those were really cool. And then my friend Kelsey, I actually met her on TikTok. She made me these beautiful candles for my books. It was amazing. She read Dark Flowers and she absolutely loved it. And she goes, "Can I make you a candle?" I was like,
So
"Hell yeah."
sweet.
It was so cool. She like printed off like these stickers, so she put a bunch of like fairies and like twisting vines on it, and she has the title, and then she has little like flower melts inside the candle, and it smells so nice. And so I asked her, I commissioned her to make more for me to do that, and she did one for Wired, and then she did one for each of the elements for each nymph for
Aw.
Among the Hunted, and they came out so nice. But the trick is because I really want to display them on my tables, but just transporting them has become a little tricky.
Yeah.
So
Have you
I'm
thought,
trying to do that.
do you have you have a website, right?
No.
No. Okay. So I was
So
gonna say
bad.
that's one thing is if you decide to do a website, you could always have a shop on your website of your
That's true.
merchandise and so through that way. But I understand websites are expensive. I understand.
Yeah, they're hard. And
Totally
I don't know how
understand.
to make them.
I
I don't.
Yeah, it's a learning curve. I use Wix. It's one of those you cut and
Yeah,
paste,
I've
and yeah,
heard of that.
yeah, and you do nowadays. They've gotten really fancy where if you know how to code, you can actually code stuff too. So they can be very unique to you. But yeah, that's what I do because I was gonna say once I learned how to maneuver it, it's been fairly useful to have. But
That's
Everything costs
awesome.
money.
Yes.
But yeah, no, the candles are so cute. Like I've done giveaways and for different releases, and I know for one of them for SARS Claws, because again, Tiger Shifter,
Yeah.
I had a artist etch a tiger with a SARS claws on a glass, like a drinking glass, a rocks glass, and it was part of the
Oh,
bundle one time. For my Viking one, I had a leather journal that had the Yggdrasil tree on it as part of the giveaway.
oh,
So it's kind of
cool.
cool to think outside the box of what can tie into your theme
Yes.
and of your books, and then yeah, I
I
like that.
think that's awesome. I wish I could do more like that, but again, like it's so expensive and like they're cool, but then people don't like it's hard because we think they're really cool because they do match our books so well, but
Mm-hmm.
like a general, person just walking by or just scrolling, they don't really see
Yeah.
that strength of the connection. So it's kind of wasted, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's cool. For Wired, I did, I think it was through like Walgreens even. Like they were able to take the cover and put it on like a water bottle. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Um, so I got that. I don't know what happened, but like the rim of the water bottle, it tasted gross. I was like, I can't, this is so gross.
No,
But it's funny how we try to pair that with that. Got another comment from Chris. I run a Shopify site for my Zine, and it's 30 a month, but not easy to set up. Yeah, and it's either expensive or you have to have that technical know-how. Like I just came up with how to make a newsletter, and I did that through like Canva because my publisher was like, please make a newsletter. And I don't know.
yeah, I use a mailer light. Again, it's one of those that's once you learn how to easily maneuver stuff, it's yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I've been enjoying building my newsletter. It was hard for a while to figure it out, and then again, the past year of trying to all of a sudden, I feel like I'm the last to know like the most obvious things when it comes to marketing your book. So I feel like
Right.
I've learned a lot and started to improve upon some of those things. But
Yeah. It's definitely a learning curve. Like
oh yeah.
when I first published my book, I thought, okay, done, published. Now I'll just sit back and get sales.
Yep,
And
yep. I did that
no.
for about a year. I was like, why is nothing happening?
Oh my God. Seriously, I'm gonna be like I like on my tombstone, I'm gonna have like the Amazon link to buy the book because I feel like I'm never gonna stop marketing. And oh, it's so draining after a while because I want to focus on writing and I wrote books because that's what I love to do. But no one tells you how much marketing you have to do. And like you were saying earlier, on all these different platforms, and you have to change it up and you have to continually keep it as fresh as possible. And with everything else going on in life, it's freaking hard.
Yeah, yep. And it took me, I don't remember how many weeks before I realized, oh, there's a draft function on TikTok. I can mass produce these. So my Mondays and my Fridays, you'll see, okay, this was definitely bundled together because I'll have like 5 or 6 or more with like the same t-shirt. I'm sorry. I'm too
I
lazy
do
to
that
pumping
too.
them out. I'm like, you're going to see, I'm not even going to pretend anymore. I'm all in the same shirt that filming, and then I'll go to another and film another set. And I'm like,
Yep.
but
You
they,
know what? It took me forever to learn. So I learned about the draft and then I was like, oh, this is amazing. But then I also learned the timer button. I had
right,
no idea
right.
the timer existed. I was like, how are these people doing these cool transitions? Because I'm like trying to keep one hand like down here to hit the button, and then the other
Yeah.
one I'm like, whoa! It's just
Oh, transitions.
oh
Okay, you were going to talk about CapCut because I think your videos using that are so fantastic, and I was
oh
like, I don't
thank
even know.
you.
I was just like, how are you doing this magic?
What is this witchcraft? So with CapCut, I saw I think her name's Kelsey. She's fabulous, and she did one of those like book trailers with all the aesthetic photos, and I saw how hers were like, it was like kind of like shifting and giving that 3D effect. I was like, how? And she just said, oh, it's CapCut. So I immediately went and I downloaded CapCut. And what's really cool is because when I was making my original videos, a lot of videos or a lot of pictures, they don't meet the right requirements for TikTok.
Yeah,
So I find
I've tried. They look bad.
yes, I find these great photos and then I can't use them because it's like, oh, 460 megapixels, like it. So I'm just like, damn it. So, but CapCut doesn't have that limit. So you just go, you just start a new project, and then it took me a second, like, so you have to like upload all your photos. They do, yeah, try CapCut. It's fabulous. Um, they do each one like 3 seconds each, so you do have to shorten them. But after you upload all of your photos, you go to the edit button, and it's like a little pair of scissors. And I had to Google this because I couldn't find it. It's under edit, and then you have to click style, and it's like this little
Yeah,
cube,
yeah.
and under there it's like 3D zoom or 3D picture, and you can just hit it and then it applies it to whatever photo you want. So I did that and it was so easy, and then you just hit upload and it's like upload right to TikTok. I was like, hell yeah, upload right to TikTok. And then I just found a song and bam.
Perfect. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming, well, that's why I don't want to assume. So your pictures, do you find them like on Pinterest, or where do you find your picture? Okay, yeah.
I find Pinterest has the best ones, especially for my aesthetic, because it's really risky typing in Google like garbage stuff that I write about. So I'm like, I don't want to go down that road. But Pinterest has been great because they
Yeah.
have all like dark romance and like tortured souls and creepy. So they already have them all perfectly laid out. I have found just like randomly, my favorite artwork is like surrealism. So I do a lot of like, I'll do dark surrealism, creepy surrealism, and those are just beautiful artwork. So I'll take a lot from that. Other than that, it's been really hard to find what I want, especially like to switch it up because I'll make these cool videos. They'll get like, I don't know, 11 likes, and then I have to go out and find all these new pictures again. So
Yeah. No,
it's
I was gonna say
crazy.
I've been enamored with yours, so that's so
Oh,
exciting.
thank you.
I will remember this and then download it after our chat.
It was such a game changer. I just love it. Adds so much more to it. It's just that wow factor of looking at it 3D versus just that 2D flat. And I was just, oh, I was enthralled when I saw Kelsey's. So it was cool. Oh, and I'm so sorry to have to cut this short. I have
Oh,
to
no
go put my
worries.
kids to bed.
It's not that short. We actually talked for about an hour and 15 almost. So
Yeah, this is absolutely fantastic. If you ever want to do another live, I would be
oh,
totally down to do another live.
I would love to. I now have to figure out how to set the timer because I think my app has a glitch in it. So I've submitted it to TikTok because it's like, it's this button here. I'm like, I don't have it. It's not
Oh,
doing it.
it is
But,
not on my grade.
yeah, exactly. But I would love to do it again in the future.
Yes, I would love that. And Chris, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad that you joined us, and please come again. This was
Yeah,
absolutely wonderful. I had so much fun, Katharine. Thank you.
thank you.
Awesome. Well, I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will see you around TikTok.
Perfect. See you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye. Figure out how to turn this off now.
It's way up in the top little
Oh, I
power
see.
button. I
Okay.
couldn't figure it out either. Bye.
Okay.